I think very deeply. I think very deeply. I think very deeply. I think very deeply.
In about 4 seconds, a teacher will begin to speak.
I think very deeply.
Let's begin.
Try this again right here. Still feel this energy. It's like a Friday anthem. Yeah. You can go to church, or you can get this Friday lesson I'm about to give here.
I smoke a blunt to take the pain out. If I wonder how I'm trying to blow my brains out. I'm hopeless. They should have killed me as a baby, and now they got me shot.
Shout out to my boy Tupac.
Forgive me. They want to shoot me in my casket, and if I don't pass, I'll be a victim of the basket. I'm losing hope, they got me stressing. Can you Lord forgive me? Got the spirit of a thug in me. I'm not a shit that ain't trash. Just in the sea, got the freezing. Don't wanna hurt, young nigga, take it easy. Picture your dreams on the triple beam, and it seems don't underestimate the power of the beat. Put all these on the block, slinging rock with your block, with the statement.
All right. Well, thank you. It is the Bill Podcast Show. The Bills Podcast Show. What up, everybody? I am your host today. I am Rockett. And so Pitch and Wendell Scott could not make it. So I dubbed the show. It's the Rockett Rant. I got a lot to talk about. Just my observation on things. So, you know, it's going to be crazy. It's probably going to be all over because if I don't have nobody to balance me out, I'm just going to go. I got my drink. We no longer do what you sipping on, but you know what I got. So, you know, it's all good. So let's get into some, let's just talk about my week. My week, we don't really need to talk about it because it was a struggle, you know. It ended nice though. We've had some beautiful weather and everything, but it's been a long week. Trying to really get into the summer. I think because Milwaukee has just got into it so late, it just really has thrown me off. I just don't feel myself in the summer mood. I don't feel like grilling out or just I usually go out and bring out my Bluetooth and speakers and just hang out outside and everything. I really kind of fell off this summer now that I'm thinking about it because my backyard ain't where I want it to be. You know, I had some projects I was going to, I had some projects. I still got some projects I need to complete and work on. But the fact that I just haven't got a start on it just kind of tells me that I'm really not enjoying this summer. But anyway, so that's just how I felt this week. So that's why I played Lord Knows going back. I was just talking to one of my cousins, 50-50 partner back in the day, 80 off 35th and Lisbon. And we was chopping it up. It was a good conversation, as always. I want to, he hit me with this, what is this, the 30th anniversary, the Garvey Fest. So this is August 16th and August 17th. I will definitely be sharing this on my page, the Bills Podcast Facebook page, because you know here on the Bill Podcast Show, it's all about Black love. You know, we pro-Black. Try my best not to tear another brother or sister down unless they just do something absolutely stupid. So here on the Bill Podcast Show, I reserve the right to retract any previous statement based on certain circumstances that I may feel is deemed to be inadequate. But I'm gonna do something cheesy. I'm gonna try to put it up there just to get a quick image and see if you can see it. I'm doing a horrible promo, but I'm not getting paid. But anyway, actually, yeah, they thinking about coming on. They would like to come on the podcast and talk more about the Garvey Fest and what they have been doing in the Black community. I know my cousin, he's a vice president, no, vice principal. He's a vice principal of school, I think somewhere in West Dallas. So definitely, we'll welcome anybody coming on the podcast and talking to us about just pro-Black movements, man. And I think it's time that we kind of make that our main focus. I know if you've checked me out on past podcasts, I done talked about the Black monolith, which I still believe. Yesterday, I introduced the American engine, and how actually they go hand in hand, because this American engine is working so well in holding back Black folks, that we need to start thinking as a monolith. We really need to start thinking what is important. We have the tools. We can do a brainstorming, like what's important, and throw it out there. You can group it, categorize it. Y'all know what brainstorming is. That's something that they've been. That's a free think, or free slave labor. I don't know if you want to call it that, but anyway, we'll keep that moving. But everything is really coalescing, in my opinion, and the reason for the show is just positive Black movements, and I think me and my other co-stars, we had a behind the scenes conversation about the direction of the show, because we want to make sure that we're doing some. We're in our 40s. We ain't got time for, the tomfoolery. It's about real stuff, but it's also about having fun. And I got into a conversation with my cousin, and it was talking about, like, one of my thoughts is, what is more important, competition or building? And I talked about how Black people, we love competition. I know more Black people that think that what KD did was traitorous, to say the least, but I think it was smart. I think it's great business. I think that why not go with the winning squad? It's a win. At the end of the day, I think Killer Mike said this, and I was watching this, so I probably bite a lot of his shit, but it's okay, because he's a cool dude, and I like what he talks about. I disagree with him about Bernie, but hey, that's potatoes, potato. But he was talking on the show, and it was like, it kind of struck a chord in me about, I'm always about Black people coming together. We can build. And the more I do research, because I do this podcast, the BIL podcast, the more I see the divisiveness and how divided we are on every level, and I think about hip hop, how beef was a thing. And I'm glad hip hop is growing up and everything. I think hip hop is getting on its right course, and I think it had to be diverted early, but now that ship is riding. That's a whole nother conversation. Like I said, I don't have anybody to wheel me back, so this is just free thought. It's Rockett's Rant. It's what I do. But getting back to what I was talking about, Black people competing versus building. I'm a builder. I love to build with Black people, like sharpen the mind, get a better understanding. I got a group of friends, and I like to think that we put each other on to new different things and everything, and keep us up to date and sharp of what's going on, or what we may not be aware of. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a better community. I think when it comes to sports and everything for the entertainment purposes, that you can you can talk about, competition, but even still, other than boxing and mixed martial art, even when you get into that, there's building behind that, because these singular sports uh, sports people, they still have to have a team around them, manager, trainers, different people to spar with. So they're still building, even to help them get better to compete. And I don't think that we should never forget that it is okay to compete, and definitely when you're competing, compete at the highest level. But I think we miss the mark when we start choosing to put competing over building. And I think that what keeps us divided, because if we all the time we driving compete, I'm the best, somebody got to get this title. I think that overshadows that building is really the ultimate, the way that we as Black folks in America will be have a seat at the table, truly have a seat at the table. So, I say that as part of one of my rants that I was thinking about. Love to be challenged on it, because I'm okay with that too. I think building, but then sometimes challenging on something that you just genuinely disagree with. I think that's honorable. Furthermore, I think that it just makes you sharper with your message. So I think you can challenge someone respectfully. And I think Killer Mike, I'm probably going to read. Probably going to be maybe referencing Killer Mike a lot, because I saw him in, I watched the interview with him and Charlemagne, but also I'm going to speak on, I guess I should have gave an introduction, but I'll come in, I'll let that be my rant, and then I'll try to frame my message and not be all over the place, because I do, as much as I want people to know who I am, I want to respect anybody that's watching this, and not just me being just all over the place. So I have my note cards. I did go to school, so I'll try to stay within the lines like you're coloring. But there's also something I want to talk about. There's a game called Couple Up. It's a box game, and I'm going to research more about it, but is Black owned, so I'm going to look in to support that. But I just kind of want to shout that out too, because I think it's interesting that we as Black people, we have to dig for to support our own, because even Dr. Boyce Watkins, he talks about click subscribe, please click and subscribe, even though because we want this to mean something. But Dr. Boyce Watkins, he was talking about how if you don't do that, the algorithms in these platforms will only do so much. So it's the audience that needs to click, share, subscribe, and if they value what's being discussed, maybe they don't, or maybe they don't value what I'm discussing, and that's fair. A little aqua to clear the my watch is telling me I need to breathe. That's probably my mother's way of telling me I talk too much, but that's why I got a podcast. I want to channel what I'm talking about. Anyway, Couple Up, it's a box game. I'm gonna look at it a little bit more. I want to get it. I want to support it. I'm married. My co-star is married. My other co-star, I don't know if he's married. He's window is secretive, but not trying to put him out like that, but I'm just saying. So enough of all of that rant and not being focused. Let's get into it, people. Lots to discuss. So it's this fraternity called Kappa Alpha. No relationship to my fraternity at all. It's a white fraternity, but the fraternity, which big ups to them for doing the right thing. They suspended three of their members, of their fraternity brothers, for posing with guns in front of the Emmett Till sign, and that sign is a mark of where they found him dead after being tortured you know. But the school has not taken any action. They made some lame excuse like, oh, they're not on company grounds and it's not in our policy. But you know, if university is supposed to stand for moral character and fiber, you know, and it's university, it's Ole Miss. So, you know, that's the Ole Miss is their slogan. They still got the Confederate flag. I still think on the mascot, the rebel, if I'm not, I think it's on his hat. Or, well, Mississippi still state flag has the Confederate flag. So you know what you into. And shout out to Mississippi. That's my home state, Clarksdale, great state of Mississippi. Anyway, you know, actually something else came out of it. There was a young lady that was, she's from Texas, but she went to Ole Miss. And yeah, there was some tragically happened to her too. But, you know, sad at the most. But getting back to that, you know, I think when I heard about that and I came across the feed, I started to think about where we're at. And I don't know if I said this yesterday, but this thought came to my mind last week that we're in a civil war. It's not a, you know, guns for the most part. That's very minute, but we're in a civil war, and it's a economic civil war, because as much as they try to keep us separate and everything, and when I say they, the powers to be, like whoever is influencing, whoever is is the driver and that's driving shit in the ground is they. And that doesn't necessarily mean white people. That just mean people who happen to be white that's driving shit in the ground. There's some black people that's driving shit in the ground, but they're doing it only like 12 or 13%, because that's what they make up. That's the demographic they make up. But I'm not here for facts. I'm here for my assessment. And there's a good and bad to Trump, you know, and I think any smart person, of course we know the bad. He's horrible for the country. But what he's doing, in my opinion, he's exposing all of these racist, dumb motherfuckers. Now, there are some races that are very smart, and it's like, nah, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. It's just not going to do it, because they found out that although I don't like other races for whatever reason, I like money more, and I'm not going to tip my hand and fuck up my money, which is smart. You know, if you're going to be a racist, might as well be a smart racist, and realize that being a racist doesn't pay the bills, but making money does pay the bills, even though you're probably making money off of racism. And, you know, but understand that the way that people are self-exposing, that it's only going to be a matter of time that they're going to start snitching on the real racism, the real racists, the ones that have policies and procedures in place to ostracize, Black folks, and then other people of color, other genders and everything. And I specifically say Black folks because I want people to understand that laws, policies, procedures, subconscious behavior, benign neglect, investigations, operations have been placed on Blacks in this country alone. More than any war, we've been at war in this country as Black folks. We've been at war in the enemy in this country for over 400 years. So, they may dress it up, and they might have a few Black folks dance around and show America, oh, look how we're transcending. And we've come a long way, but we have so far to go. Because I think until miseducation stop, I think that is the driver of inequality. And you have the master class teacher, Donald J. Trump himself, and he's activating all of these young folks. These old folks, they behind him like the second coming of Jesus. They was like, oh, let's go back to the days where racism was it wasn't even racism. It was the way it was. You can have a young man call an old man boy, and he'll reply, yes, sir, no, sir. Just all that dumb shit, like nobody don't want that, I don't even know why they're fighting for that dumb shit. That kind of lets you know that's how you know that evil exists in the world. Because when people doing some shit that doesn't even make sense, I mean, it's a manufactured ideal. That's what racism is. And it doesn't help because you think about the legacy and you want to be on the right side of history. That's the problem is that when it comes out that some of their parents and was part of these racial group and did horrible things, that carries on. That carries on in that name. That's that history. I remember watching Hitch with Will Smith, and he took old girl on a date to Ellis Island, showed her descendant grandfather and everything. She started crying. He thought he was, had the game, laying the Mac down, but he just reminded her because her grandfather, I guess he was an assassin and he had the title the Butcher. But like people do not want to be reminded of the horrible shit that they have done or the dumb shit that they have done. They definitely don't want to be reminded of the horrible dumb shit that maybe their parents, their grandparents, their forefathers or foremothers have done, because there's really nothing they can do about it. But it's like at the end of the day, you'd be like, okay, and that was some fucked up shit. What can we do to make it better? But it's thinking, it's that type of thinking, and it's that type of reprogramming. Even white and Black people need to be re-educated, because there's a lot of subconscious thoughts that that's where I guess competition goes, because it allows you to root that out, I would like to think. But anyway, I went down a rabbit hole, but I'm bringing myself out. Okay, so I don't know. the fraternity suspending them, I think that was a good look. But should the school suspend them for being for being dumb? I don't know. I truly don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna even try to make a case for them of why they shouldn't, because that would be dumb of me. But I don't know. I don't know. Should the school expel them? If I were to put my equal hat on, I would say yes, because I know that if those kids were black, and they don't have to be standing by a stand, a sign. But let's just say they was. Let's say that they were standing by. I'm pretty sure Mississippi got a statue of Andrew Jackson, who was probably the most racist president, maybe second to the president we got. But shit, I don't know. Let's say you had three black boys that were standing by Andrew Jackson, and they got the gun pointed at the Confederate flag, and they went to Ole Miss. Do you think that they would be, and they were a member of a fraternity, do you think that not only would the fraternity suspend them, but do you think the school would suspend them or expel them? Because one of the two is going to happen. I'm going to go with the latter. So that's my equality hat. If you reverse that and put that same situation with black boys against a white male image, would they be suspended if they were college students? I'm gonna go with hell yes. Well, I'm gonna go with expelled. Suspended, no. I think they'll be expelled not only from the fraternity but also from that university. And people would get on them. I would get on them because I would think that was stupid. Like, why would you? What is that? What does that mean? To me, when they standing with their guns in front of that Emmett Till sign, it was like, we willing to kill another boy, a young man that woman lied on. And that just kind of lets you know, just from their action, not maybe from their thought, but the subconscious. Like out of three of them, no one thought, just like, man, this is not a good idea. And you got to think about who took the picture. It was three in the picture. Somebody taking the picture. What award should they give that person? It's one thing to do a dumb act. It's another one to put it out on social media. But that's one thing I could be doing right now as I talk about. So, hey, touche. But I'm not in school, and I don't have a gun pointing at a sign. Nice transition right there. So, I think things are heating up in the election. There's a lot to talk about with that. I think that's going to roll into probably the Mueller conversation. I checked out his testimony and everything, and everybody cried me a river on that one. But anyway, before we get into that, I want to talk about Biden versus Harris and Booker. So from a political standpoint, I think it's smart. I think it's smart for Harris and Booker, the only two black people that are running for president of the United States for the Democratic ticket, to attack Biden on his black support. Because me personally, I find humor in the fact that black people are he has 34% of the black vote, just lock, stock, and barrel, just because he was attached to Barack Obama. And I love the fact that Harris and Booker is attacking Biden on his record with the crime bill. He tried to clean up how he handled the Anita Hill situation. I don't know too much about that, but he gave a half-ass apology. I don't even know if he apologized. That's why I'm calling it half-ass. I mean, he spoke of it, and he talks about how he talked from how tough it was to even get that. Like it was like he did us a favor, and that's the '94 crime bill. But it kind of takes me back from, and I try to look at people, the totality of somebody, and I'm not even, yeah, I don't think Biden's a horrible person. I think some of his legislation is, I think, in my opinion, the '94 crime bill, and that came from the Democrat side, did much to damage us than did as equally damage as the crack era. That's how I equate the '94 crime bill, and coupled with the Bill Clinton had already started to decrease the military, which a lot of black folks got let go. So I think it was a couple of things around that time that hit Black America, and it did a lot of damage. I mean, we survived, we moved on, and everything, but I think we need to hold Biden feet to the fire, because if he does become the Democratic nominee, actually he's going to need to address his wrongdoing shit. I'm just going to call it. He's going to have to address that, because Trump is going to hit him with him, because Trump don't care about doing any wrongdoing. So anybody's trying to make niceties and everything and trying to give Biden, like Biden is the anti-Trump. It's like, no, we don't want no fucking Trump. I don't want Biden. Me personally, I don't want Biden. I don't want Bernie. It's like, because when they talk to me, they talk like high level. They don't even talk high level. They just assure you. But it's like there's no plan there. Now, I know I can dive deep and investigate, and they have it laid out. But I like to hear my candidate go in depth, because I'm more of a listener than a reader. That's just my strong suit, because I listen to details. Even when I was listening to, that's why I listen to Biden talk. It's like he doesn't talk specifics, and then they'll try to clean it up like he doesn't want to show his hand. It's like, look, if it's like playing spades to me. If you see my hand, you still can't do anything with it. If I know what I need to do, you know my whole hand. You can't do nothing with it if you're a true spades player. So I equate that to, if your game is tight, you don't need to say, oh, I don't want to expose my hand. If your message is strong, and we have to at some point let the American people decide what's in their best interest instead of all of this tomfoolery. Now, understand that the Republicans don't care. They're going to run anything and everything to win, even as we speak right now. And we're going to get into the Mueller report and that investigation, how they done flipped on the country. But we're going to kick that down the road until the segment, because that's going to be the big whoop-de-doo, I think. But yeah, just the Biden versus Harris and Booker. Like Booker, he needs the black vote to start being relevant. And now he's starting to take off the gloves because it's like it just can't identify with him. First of all, like his head is shaved low and he has no facial hair. If you did, if you didn't listen to him, like it would be hard to see any type of black in him. And I know that's cheap and cheesy, but I'm just saying, it's like sometimes optic. But he's toughening up and shit. He's hitting Biden. He's hitting Biden back, and he's challenging him on the black vote. And you have to. I think Buttigieg. I think he's sincere, but the naivete. I think with Buttigieg, when it comes to black, it's like, dude, come on. Like, how do you not know that this is not? I was like, the race relationship in America should be number one on any politician's list. Like, you hear them talk about trying to make peace in the Middle East, but that's not on their agenda to make peace here in their own country, and that talks about reparations, which I was touting. Killer Mike and Charlemagne was talking about reparations, and I was touting that also, that we're not here to let the establishment define what reparation is and what it looks like. That's a conversation that black people have to come together and force them to. And it's not going to be easy, because we're going to have to come together as a group, and definitely they're going to be trying to break us. They're going to be trying to say, hey, we'll give you this and that, and probably throw in some pork to get you to break away or get a faction to break away. I could see them probably going after like the church or black business owners, all these organizations that make up. I think that's where it should start. All of these organizations, such as, I'm in a fraternity, and the fraternity belongs to the National Panhellenic Council, NPHC. So, as far as a black organization, the leader of the black organization on the national level should be talking to other leaders of black church organization, black engineer, lawyer, politicians, school, arts, hip hop. There should always be these organizations, and then they communicate, and then we start to build out that framework. What is reparations? Because they got to touch all of these pockets that black people are in, for us to continue to not only to establish equality. So I'm gonna continue to talk about that, because that, to me, that rolls underneath the black monolith that I speak of. And how we have to start somewhere, and we have to start building out the framework. I mean, education is key. Yes, financial resources, loan opportunity, career opportunity advancements, schooling, not only from just a elementary level, that has to be overhauled, but just going to school. And I would like to see, not going to school for communication as your major, maybe that could be a side major, but going to school for a profession, like a teacher, an engineer, a doctor, lawyer, so that we can listen, whether we separate or integrate into the American society, it's going to be an individual choice. But regardless, if a large group of Black folks decide that we're going to segregate and we're going to call it Atlanta, because that's pretty much, what Atlanta is. Well, Atlanta is probably one of the oldest surviving Black communities that did not get burned down or destroyed through white terrorism. And that's another thing we're going to get into. Well, it's hot today. It's hot today. The Bill Podcast. This is the Rockett Rant. They have left me alone in the building. I am here by myself. I am unsupervised. The wife and the kids are gone. It's Friday. I got a drink in my hand. Hey, I got lots to discuss. I got a lot on the table here that I just want to get out and bring to y'all out there. Not saying that you wanted or need it, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. I think the Brat had, I'm gonna give it to you. Word up. Hey. Anyway, that's why I didn't make it in rap. I never tried to rap. Maybe I did. Who knows? So Vanity Fair had a nice article that kind of talked about the GOP insiders' fear of Kamala Harris. They're liking her to Barack Obama, that came out of nowhere. And hey, I'm in favor of Kamala Harris. She's not my top vote. I like Andrew Yang. I like his sensibility, but Kamala, she's a beast. Like how she went at who was that? Mnuchin in Congress, in the Senate hearings. I think she would make an excellent president. I understand there's some controversy behind her being a DA, but shit, she was a DA. I understand that there's some history of her and a former mayor, I think Willie Brown, I think that's his name. I maybe mixed that up, but who cares? I don't care about this shit. I care about her record. I care about what she talks about. And I think she's solid. I think she, but what I'm looking for, especially that she's a Black person, I'm looking for, what are you going to specifically do for the Black community? That's what, in any candidate, I'm looking at what you're specifically going to do for the Black community, or what your policies are going to do that I feel that will help the Black community. Like Andrew Yang, he talked about a $1,000, it's called the American Freedom tax, or it's $1,000 that is given to each American citizen age 18 and above. $1,000 untaxed in your account. And and he talked about how automation is going to take over. There's going to be trucks driving without drivers, and Amazon is paying no taxes. If you really follow and you look into them, it makes sense. Now, yeah, it's going to be a hard fight, but I believe that it's a great program. It's a great socialist program, and I believe that when he talks about who supported this, like Martin Luther King, he supported this. Some other, I think, what was it? anyway, I don't know who else supported it other than Alaska, because that's what Alaska is doing with the petroleum that is pumping out, that every resident in Alaska receives $2,000. But they're receiving dividend. Yes, the American dividend. I think that's what he called it. They're receiving dividends from resources being pumped out of the land that they own, or the land that they help support too. And I think, we should be thinking about what if we're going to survive, we cannot continue to make companies in the 1% uber rich and then we become uber poor. It's not going to work. The system will crumble because it's not sustainable. It's going to run out. People are going to get tired. So it's feasible, if you want the machine to run smoother, then you're going to have to start doing what's a little fair. It's not fair that corporations can go and pay no taxes and then tout that they create jobs. Then you could say the same shit that, it's not fair that, the poor or the middle income carry the huge tax burden. I mean, even after we get our paychecks, we go, whatever we got to buy, we pay taxes again. That's, to me, double taxation. And then when you think about like a company like Amazon, that they don't pay any taxes, but then I have to pay taxes on their product that they don't pay taxes on. Am I just paying taxes for them that they don't pay taxes on? That's how I look at it. I don't know how I got over there, but I guess I wanted to stay focused on Kamala Harris and how the GOP insiders, they truly fear her. I mean, Trump feared Biden because Biden and Sanders will eat up some of his base. Like when it came down to the election, they went with crazy ass Trump because he was a white man at the end of the day. His policy ain't worth shit. And the rest of his governance, half the time he doesn't know what he's talking about. But that could be said about me too. So, yeah. But anyway, Biden and Sanders is just another old white man, and they talk high level. They talk about, no, that's not what it's about. I'm gonna do this and that, but it's like when they get down, I like a sharp debate. I like someone to frame it out and kind of give me bullet points of how whatever policy that they're gonna enact, what are those bullet points, and in the order that it is going to help the American people, not only black folks, but just the American people in general. But I do want to hear policies that's going to help only black folks, because for so long, I mean, we have to think about rewriting the justice system, the legal system, really holding people accountable with the financial system, economic policies. There's a lot of things that's going to go on behind reparations. Let's just talk about it and talk about what we want. But I think Kamala Harris, she'll be a fierce. She will be. I think she would make a great president. I think she would probably make a better president than Barack Obama. And I'll say it in this avenue because she's a black woman, more on being a woman. She's very sharp, and I think just from an imagery standpoint, somebody getting into it. Even when I watch Trump with Nancy Pelosi, it just, she got the best of them. She's always gotten the best of them from the time I've seen them. And he's trying to be fake chivalrous, like, oh, I'm just looking out for you. And she's very stern, and it just plays to her side that, you know, here's this guy who's being chauvinistic, and she's standing up to this chauvinism. And I think when you look at the Republican base, they're very chauvinistic. And when they're dealing with like how they attack Michelle Obama and Rice and some other females, Hillary, you know, but Hillary, I think Hillary was an outlier. They didn't look at her as a female. I don't think most of the country did. I think they looked at her. I think they looked at her as Bill Clinton baggage, because everything that they were, the Clinton machine, you know, like a lot of I guess what they went through when Bill was governor and president and everything. She's holding the bag for that. So I thought she would have made, or I know she would have made a better president than Trump. But, you know, it's the Electoral College, which, as my man Wendell Scott said, that was only put in place because of black folks. You know, it's to make sure that black folks could not affect the election. That's the information that I talk about, that we are being misinformed about, because when you think about, like, the popular vote should just win, point blank, period. You know, and if you remove the Electoral College, what you'll get is that people would have to campaign in all 50 states. So then that makes rural America just as important as inner city America. Everybody would have to at least campaign and find some way to campaign in every major city and major town that controls districts and counties, you know. But what do I know? I'm just a black man in America on a Friday, rant, because I got nothing else to do. I could go play golf, but I'd rather be here ranting with you. Anyway, let's see what we got here. And we have nothing but a marker of poison. Congress grilled. Okay, oh, that's the Jules lab. They're making a big whoop to do about that, but they've been doing that with cigarettes. Same shit, just a different form of dispensing. But, you know, it's the wrong people are using that, so they got to bring that to the attention, and they got to they got to control that. Anyway, ain't got time for that. Let's see here. Let's kind of go through some of these real quick here. We talked about Kappa Alpha suspending. I agree with that. I'm gonna close out with black representation, because I think that's still gonna stay within that black monolith that I talk about, and that's what I really kind of want to hammer home as I putting this out in the universe to program you. I purposely want to program black and white folks to think about what is right, not for what is right for you individually or what feels right, but what is right as a nation and what is right globally. You know, high level shit, I guess. Anyway, yeah. So the Russians, Koreans, the North Koreans, the Chinese, they're cyber actors targeting the U.S. election. And that's so crazy. The fact that shows you how weak in this country is, because they used to cyber attack, and they probably still are, our personal information. Equifax just had to cough up 700, was it 700 million? Yeah, $1 million. No way they'll be trying to cough up 700 billion off of some fuck shit that they did. But yeah, they agreed to $700 billion, and there's information that comes out that everybody can get $125 back from Equifax, but you can get up to 10 years of credit protection. So you definitely, Black folks, you definitely want to go ahead and sign up and kind of look into that to get credit protection, because it's free and it's owed to you for Equifax not really securing our information. Now, I don't know if my shit got fucked up or not, but I'm damn sure they're gonna get my $125, and I'm damn sure gonna sign up for credit monitoring. I think it's credit monitoring and not credit protection. I think they're probably two different things, or maybe it's one and the same that just switched up the name. But yeah, that's so they are not only, they're starting to target us for election purposes. They're going to continue to divide us based on our racist behavior as a country as a whole. And we as Black folks, we got to be smart too. We got to be smart when we start thinking about how the information that we receive, is it true or not? How are we going to fact check that? And how does that affect us to will it make us move in a different direction? Because don't think that they're just touting racism to white folks. They're touting racism to Black folks too. And you must think from a holistic standpoint that if the food that you digest is not good for you, then you got to think about the information that you digest. Is that also good or not good for you? There's a lot of things that we need to awaken to, because this matrix, the American engine, whatever you want to call it, I'm gonna have a couple of names and shit, because I'm gonna distract, I'm gonna confuse my goddamn self. But we have to stay vigilant. We have to move with a purpose. And I think we move right now with a purpose of we're running away from our Blackness. No one likes to say I'm Black and I'm proud anymore. I'm lying, they do. But I'm just saying, for a whole standpoint, that we run away from what makes us great. So I'll close out on that, because ADD kicks in, and I do have and maybe I should wait until I have a special guest on here. But I want to talk about, is white supremacy superior to patriotism? Say that once again. Is white supremacy superior to patriotism? I would say yes, based on the facts that have presented themselves in the last 10, 12 years. I would say yes, even though we had a Black president, we had a Black attorney general, I would say yes, that white supremacy is superior than patriotism. I am not going to even go down that road because I'm by myself, and this is a good topic to build or challenge. I must say that. Attorney General Barr, who should be impeached as well, in my opinion, lifted the death penalty. So I guess the death penalty was suspended for 16 years, but now that has been brought back to the table. And his simple statement is, people demand justice. So I started to check out, like, man, what this cat is up to. So there's going to be 5 people that will be executed starting in December, running into January. And I saw a article that talked about the 5 individuals. So I'm like, oh, let me check that out. So all 5 I approve. You know, I am neither for or against the death penalty, but hey, if it's here, there's a couple of people that I think that should have been put under just because of their acts. And if it's proven without a shadow of a doubt, definitely. But I do think the larger portion is that death penalty was a way to really execute a lot of Black innocent men. Trumped up charges. I mean, we already know. So that's the slippery slope. The people that they're about to execute, they're fine. They've done some horrible thing. Now they did show a picture of Dylan Roof, which I agree, but he's not slated as one of those 5. So I thought that was clickbait to show him. But then it also kind of for a second pissed me off. Like, why is he not on the block? And it's like, oh, because he killed Black people, But the 5, they're horrible, despicable people, regardless. Anytime you go and you just do just horrible things to another human being, but more specifically to a child, I think there's no coming back from that. I think you forfeit your life. Yeah, we're just gonna keep it there. Anyway, the death penalty is back, so watch out for that because it's an entrapment. I think they're probably saying that, hey, we have too many people on death row that's creating a deficit. I don't know why. You said that the people must have their revenge, which I kind of agree, because if you do some horrible shit to me and mine, I would want to. I don't even. And what they was talking about, it was like 3 injections that we received. Now it's just been marked down to 1, and people think it's inhumane. That's the shit that trips me out. Like, who gives a fuck about somebody that's sentenced to death for doing something that's fucking horrible? Who gives a fuck about humane treatment? I think shit, have an alligator pit. But that's, like I said, people without a shadow of a doubt that did horrible shit. That's my opinion. It's like, what does that say about a society that treats somebody humane after they did despicable, deplorable? There's no justice in that, and me personally, I would like to feel the revenge. I would like the history to know that, you know, my descendants know that I got my revenge. I got our revenge. But that's just me. That's just me. You know, I don't think uh, I don't put that under the black monolith hat at all. That's just me, individual. So just know that. Let's see here. Where we go? Oh, Trump stood behind. Yeah, somebody put up. I thought it was foul, but comical though. Somebody put up the presidential seal, but it wasn't the presidential seal. It was a seal of a double-headed eagle. In one hand had golf clubs, and another hand had something else. But it was something. It wasn't the presidential seal, and it was something alluding to his relationship with Russia. So that just lets you know that goes back to is white supremacy superior to patriotism? You know, so you can start there and you can start unraveling. Let's see here. Uh, the Puerto Rican governor, Ocio, resigned after protests. And I think that was valuable. I think that's more valuable for people of color. You know, shout out to Puerto Rico for just letting them know, hey, you know, y'all got to get y'all shit together. Y'all got to go. Now, the person that's going to step in is saying that they're not going to look into corruption because they're going to have to trial and hold people accountable. They got to get her. They're going to have to get her out of there too, because she's going to be pretty much the same. Sorry to say, until they do grassroots and start electing and putting their people into place, they just when one resign, another weed is going to step up and assume its place, and it's going to be the same old shit, you know. And we can learn from some. Well, hopefully Puerto Rico has learned from black folks in the U.S. But I hope, more importantly, that black people in the U.S. has learned from Puerto Rico that when you come together, you know, something's going to happen. You understand where your power is placed in the universe. Their power was very powerful because dude was like, nah, I'm not going to run for re-election. They was like, nah, that ain't good enough. We got to, hey, boom. It was a tropical storm out in that joint. I don't know if it was a tropical storm, but I'm mythological that shit. It was hurricane something going on, but they still out there. They was on the bridges and they were protesting. And I think that's the way it should be, you know, and in some way, form or fashion, you know, we lost that. Of course we did. Anyway, not going to stay on that too long. Trying to stay. I think I'm doing a good job. You know, y'all think I'm doing a good job when you finally decide to see this. Let me know. You know, I take all constructive criticism. You know, it's only going to make me better. That's what I tell my kids. I'll cry in the dark. You know, not even in the rain. Anyway. You know what? The squad, I just love them. I really want to say how I think they are powerful. And that's kind of crazy because it's not crazy, but it's how it should be that you have 4 new Congress members who happen to be women. They come in there and they getting at it. They was like, and they're intelligent about it. I mean, even hey, I agree with Rashida Tlaib when she's like, we're gonna get that motherfucker out of there. That's what I like to hear, because guess what? The Republicans do the same thing. The fact that they they want these new Congress members to be the go along, get along game. They're like, nah, fuck that shit. Impeach that motherfucker. Let's go. So, I mean, Ilhan Omar, she made, there was a video that came up, and it's old, but that's how you know they're threatened, because they're going a year and a half to bring up about how she's saying that the United States should fear white men. Do she have a point? I mean, there's ample evidence to support that, because last time I checked, white men was threatening her just because of her belief of having a better and more inclusive, diverse America, United States. Let's say that. You know, that's kind of crazy. And then when she said that, I was reading the comments and they was going crazy. They was like, "Oh, you just made sure that Trump is now a president." It's like, dude, do your homework, do your research. We have no other choice because we see the shit go down. We see they talk about black on black crime, but never white on white crime, or just white terrorism. You know, that's a real thing, but the FBI won't say anything about it. Who is that? President Ford, he commissioned a study of why black people just don't seem to get their shit together. And when that study came back, it found out that the major reason that that black people are not growing economically is from white people and their terrorist act. Now, once again, because someone's going to stumble across this, and it's going to be information that they're going to use and everything, and they're like, "Oh, this guy Rockett, he's talking about all white people." No, I'm not. And if you follow it, even if you had half a brain, you know, if you know that you have not did a violent act on anybody, then you know I'm not talking about you. So let's just call it good conversation. But I think she has a point, you know, and I think that until we take the lid off and expose like the Charlottesville shit, you know, Ku Klux Klan. Come on now. Shit. Skinheads. I even seen an article on MSNBC. It's something called Skins, how a former skinhead is trying to assimilate back into America. Because he done jumped out the window, and now he got all these tattoos. People see him as that, and you can't erase that. You know, it's like you're gonna have to answer and go penance. But how much will he go through because he's white, and he will be accepted far quicker back into the white supremacy community far quicker than a black person would probably save 10 white folks' lives. That's just how I see it. We can talk about it. You know, I don't have a problem with it, but I'm 46. I've seen a lot that I know how this thing works. But yet I talk about it because we need to. We need to change how shit is. Just because it's fucked up don't mean that it can't change. And I'm all about change, real change, even hoping for change. Si se puede. I'm with all of that. So let's get into the Mueller report. You know, I have a couple angles on the Mueller report. you know, he cited that the OLC, the Office of Legal Counsel, stated that you can't indict a sitting president. I think that's bullshit. You know, not that Mueller said that, but that is even there. You know, for the simple fact that you have somebody that can do. I mean, basically, what he's saying is like he has long-term diplomatic immunity. And then he talks about that, you know, after the president is out of office, it can be indicted, and maybe that's what they're waiting for. But I think, me personally, I think they're losing their base. And when I say they, I mean the Democrats are losing their base because Nancy Pelosi will choose not to start the impeachment proceeding, even though that the Senate is going to shut it down. But guess what? The impeachment proceedings is good advertisement for the Democrat. It's going to unite them. Now, maybe she's going to do this maybe in 2020, because that's when the election, and she want it to be fresh and don't want it to be over with and everything. I can see that angle. But I think that although it's a good angle, it's a losing angle, because don't think that people won't look at it the way that I'm looking at it. Oh, you would decide to impeach him at the time he's running for office, so you're trying to muddy up his name. It's actually something that the Republicans probably would do. I know I feel it in my bone. I know Donald Trump would do. Donald Trump wouldn't turn down anything if it was in his favor to become president again. You know, he has, in my opinion, and from what I've seen and heard from Donald Trump, he has no cap or no bottom of what he would do to become president, because it actually is in his best interest, you know, to continue to be president, because hell, if he can be indicted afterwards, it's like, who wants that? Which I think is silly, which I think puts our country at risk. You know, it weakens the presidency, it weakens our image in the country. The fact that we have Barack Obama, and I think Barack Obama was a good foundation to build off of. Was his presidency perfect? No, but he had a lot of shit to clean up, and he did that. So I salute him. You know, yeah, would I like to see something specifically for the Black community? Yes, absolutely. Do I hold him fully accountable for that? Absolutely not. I hold us, because even as I sit here and I do this live podcast, I could be working on putting together a organization that talks about what reparation looks like for Black folks. Not that it is the end all, the be all, or, you know, everything, but it's something that I can submit, put out there, and add others join in and build on it and create their own. Because this is what we're going to have to do if we're going to talk about equality in this country. We got to create our own shit. Point blank, period. You know, so I'm gonna get back to the Mueller report. He sat down with Congress, and it's really a shame when you see the Republican. I thought the Democrat did a good job of the footage. I think the imagery. Now, Mueller, yeah, he wasn't sharp and everything, but he answered to the best of his ability with the restraint. And let's not act like the Attorney General of the justice system, the Attorney General Barr, did not send a letter to Mueller to give him the parameters that he could not go outside of, or he couldn't talk about, or he couldn't expound on. So it was very limited. So being that he stood within that frame, you know, I thought it was very good information. And I was not for impeachment from a strategic standpoint, but I had to let that go. And it's like, dude, the chips. It's like we're playing a dangerous game when we're talking about electing Donald Trump, and we got to be honest that shit can happen. So we gotta play the hand that we dealt, and then let the country tell the story. You know, now Nancy Pelosi may say, "Fuck that, I won't control that," but you're still gonna play because people can see through when you're trying to direct them a certain place. I think the Democrats, if you want to be, I think if you want to be open and honest, I think you would have to just like, look, we got the House. That was one of the messages predicated on, finding out the truth and seeing, impeaching Donald Trump. And I think we have that. Listen, Donald Trump is under 10 separate investigations. 10. There has been 5 people a part of that's close to Donald Trump that has been indicted and will be indicted. Manafort, Papadopoulos, Cohen. You have not Mnuchin, Flynn, and then you have old boy that was back. He was like a Nixon lover. I forgot his name and shit, but he's a weird aristocrat motherfucker. He having fun too. And then not to mention that, his relationship with Epstein is somewhere out there. And there's another creep that's locked up. I got to find his name too, that he was good friends with Donald Trump. Although Epstein was good friends with Bill Clinton too. So there you go. But he wasn't good friends with Barack Obama. That's the litmus test right there. You can have George Bush, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. Who's your president? That's a good survey. I might put that out on Twitter just to stir up something, because I really want to know, out of those 4, out of our last 4 president, including the current one, who would you vote for? Who would be your president? Knowing what you know now, or maybe you put them in order. Like who was, instead of just singular, top 5 president. How about that? Where you starting at? Might put that out there too. Anyway, Bill Podcast Show. It's your boy Rockett. What up? This is Rockett Rant episode. They left me alone in the building. I am parental parental discretion advisory. That shit is going out the building. I'm talking about everything and everything. I was talking about the Mueller report with him sitting in Congress, and I just started drifting on some other things. But one thing that I do take issue with Robert Mueller, whatever, is that he knows what he's up against. He's not a dumb person by far. He's former Marine, decorated, went to law school at one of those top-notch FBI. So he he has an extensive career, which is another thing. Like this dude done had like 3 different careers. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. So he has a lot of experience, but the fact that at some point you being a good guy, you know that you're in the presence of evil. Why do you keep yourself in a box? Like, what is that? That's if I had to sit down with Robert Mueller, I was like, dude, I was like, I know, I would like to think, I would hope to think that Robert Mueller and myself would agree that Trump is horrible for our country. And he, even when you know they appointed him special counsel and to lead the investigation, they were like, this is what you need to look into. You can't go outside of that, even though, because like once again, it's like 10 investigations, but they narrow it down. And that's because they did that on purpose, because I think they would find out that he would find more information. It's like, I think you pulling the scabs back, there's a lot of people that's going to fall eventually. And they're trying to, and I think it's a lot of people under that American engine or white supremacy, whatever you want to call it. I think that's going to, unravel that shit right there. I think they know what they're doing. They put fuck boys in place to protect the covenant. And what is the covenant? It's white supremacy, the American engine, whatever you want to call it. But that, because right is right, wrong is wrong. And man law should not be above moral law. That's my opinion. Hey, you can challenge me on it or we can build on it. It's whatever. But if I'm big enough to put my opinion out there, I'm big enough to accept constructive feedback, because I may be wrong. Who knows? But you have to prove it. Here on the Bill Podcast Show, I may be wrong, but you damn well have to prove it. Let's see here. So our last topic here that I'm going to discuss before I close out, because I appreciate that you allowing me to be here rocking the mic on the Bill Podcast Show, Rockett Rant episode. We're going to talk about Black representation and where do we need that? Where do we need Black representation? I talked about, and I'm going to continue to talk about, we have Black representation in entertainment, but is it truly representing us? I would say no, but I'm not an entertainer. I'd say that we need Black representation in every industry. We need industry leaders. We need counsel. We need our own Supreme Court. I did make this one statement that we need a liaison or an ambassador, if you will, of Black people. I think every ethnic group should have someone that speaks to their plight. Some people call them lobbyists, but hey, if that's what you want to call it, I'm fine with that too. But we need somebody that's going to be there to fight for our common interest. And when our common interest is not being heard, then it is our time to rally and support, whether that means shutting down and not buying any whatever. I don't want to throw a name out there because I don't have you could say Papa John's, because Papa John was on some fuck shit, even though I did like their pizza, the price point on Tuesday, but hell, You can look at black athletes not supporting universities because of, say, like Ole Miss, or what happened, because they won't do anything. Just think about the football programs that black athletes stopped supporting, just basketball, football, baseball, any other. You know, just think about that. Think about if you decide to go to Mississippi Valley State or Mississippi State instead of Ole Miss. Think about that. That's black representation. Maybe I'm saying the same thing as black monolith. I don't know. I do know. It's all the same shit. But you gotta, just because when it's Christmas, what do? You don't wrap all the presents in one bag. You wrap them individually. It makes it look more grandiose. Anyway, but yeah, black representation in legal counsel. Just think about a black representation and how they have to overhaul the legal system, law, justice. Just think of how they have to right those wrongs. Just think about in the medical field, how they have to rewrite medical evaluation, because they do look at black and they look at black people different. We prescribe less medication because they say that our pain receptors we can endure more pain. That's kind of crazy, Anyway, but yeah, black representation is a good thing that if I ever get the courage enough to go back to school for economics, I'm building my premise right now. It's like, and I'll title my joint "All Black Everything." I come with some Jeezy shit. Shout out to Jeezy. But yeah, it was like, but when I talk about black representation, it was like, that's just us being at the forefront of everything. Not only that's like the cannabis industry, we need to be at the forefront of that. And we'll do a good job. We'll have great product because it's an opportunity for us to get out there and create and establish and build our economy. When we talk about hip hop, we need to be at the forefront. We need better black representation. And what I mean is about making sure that hip hop is pro-black and no longer anti-black. So, but I can go on and on and on. But I just want us to really get to start thinking about black representation and what does that mean? Because I was thinking about, I saw this come across when I was at work earlier about this leadership, and I was like, man, when the last time I've been to a leadership program? I used to go every year when I was active in my fraternity, but it was like, I was like, damn, that's what I'm missing, because you got to be around people that's doing something if you want to continue to do something. I think I was talking to my wife earlier. It's like sometimes when you go in your bubble and you try to move forward in life, there's a lot of obstacles that's going to tear you down, and you tuck your tail between your leg and you go back home. Some people give up, but some people just keep looking for another way, and I was talking about that and everything, and it's like, yeah, you can't give up, because at the end, that's what and what I mean by they is those who are in control. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be the source, and not you creating they want you to be the source for them and not the source for you. So that's what ultimately what I'm talking about, black representation in all the industries and all the services and acts and everything. We need to be there, and we need to be there so we can be informative, so we can re-educate, we can reevaluate as Black people, and we can move in a way that when we're not being heard or felt, we know what we need to do, and it's nonviolent. We can just, man, we can shift something. If we could just stop, we could just stop shopping. You know, we could take some of the tactics, like the bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. We can take those tactics, start leaning on each other for necessity and moving accordingly, just to show how the Black dollar affects the economy. And then that's when they'll get a seat at the table. But we have to command to stay, to be permanently at the seat of the table, not just for that one instant, because that's the door that's going to open. But we got to come in. We got to come in there, motherfucker. We don't got to kick it in. We just make sure that motherfucker is always open for us. So saying that, you know, I'm going to close it on out and everything. I appreciate the opportunity to let me rant on, you know. There's a lot of things that I like to talk about. I love to build with people, but if they're not here, then that just means that I don't get interrupted when I go on my rant. So thank you for rocking with us here at the Bill Podcast. Once again, I am your single host for the day. Next week, hopefully, Pitch and Window, they'll be back. You know, I know they will. So they'll be back with us, rocking with us and everything. And we may have special guests to talk about the Harvey Fest that I was speaking on earlier. And you know, we can continue to have real good content out here, just to make the American people aware. So as I know more, I say more. Until then, good night. I really didn't drink that much tonight, huh?